The moment she stepped back into her world, reality rushed in like a cold gust. The manager's eyes were sharp, almost warning her before he even spoke. He didn't shout, he didn't need to. His voice carried a heaviness that cut deeper than anger. He told her plainly that getting close to someone like him never ends well, and before she could argue, he showed her proof. A girl who once worked at the reception, cheerful and full of dreams, now reduced to scrubbing toilets because she'd been caught with the same rich guy. It was a harsh reminder of how quickly a life can fall apart when the lines between classes blur. She felt insulted, judged, treated like she was too naive to make her own choices. But underneath that sting was something deeper, a small, uneasy doubt that maybe he wasn't warning her out of control, but out of concern. And that fear stayed with her long after his words ended. It all began in a moment so unexpected that it almost felt unreal. She was simply going about her day, lost in her routine, when suddenly he appeared, this confident, charming rich guy who pulled her back from danger and said, almost casually, "Looks like I just saved your life." She wasn't impressed. In fact, she wished she had never needed saving in the first place. But the way he looked at her, with a mix of curiosity and amusement, made her heartbeat stumble. He teased her about losing something, hinted that maybe it was a sign she should stay a little longer, and before she knew it, he was inviting her for coffee as if they were old friends. She resisted at first, annoyed by his boldness, yet something in his carefree smile made her hesitate, just long enough for fate to slip quietly into her life. And that was the moment everything started to change. She returned only to give back the coat, nothing more, nothing less. At least that's what she told herself as she walked toward him, shoulders heavy, heart raw from everything that had unfolded. He looked at her with the same cold expression he always wore, but this time she noticed something beneath it, a tension, a worry, a quiet ache he didn't know how to hide. He wasn't dramatic, he didn't beg, he didn't try to sweep her off her feet. He simply listened, steady and grounded, like he had been standing in the same place the whole time, waiting for her storm to settle. And in that stillness, she finally saw what she had been blind to before. His harsh words were never meant to cage her, his anger was never meant to hurt her, and his silence carried a care far deeper than loud promises ever could. The chaos had dazzled her, but the calm was what truly held her. Real love doesn't pull you into the air, it keeps you from falling. When she finally reached the floor they had chosen, her pulse was still dancing with the thrill of the moment. She truly believed he would be there waiting, just as excited, just as breathless. But when she opened the door, that belief shattered in an instant. Another girl was inside, comfortable, relaxed, as if she belonged there. The air tightened around her, and suddenly every warning she had ignored came roaring back. He tried to explain, stumbling over excuses, insisting it meant nothing, that he was only waiting for her. But the damage was done. Her chest felt hollow, like something precious had slipped right through her fingers. And in that moment of hurt, she remembered the manager's stern eyes, the frustration in his voice, the relentless pressure he put on her, not to control her, but to protect her from this exact pain. The truth settled heavy in her heart. Sometimes betrayal opens your eyes more clearly than love ever could. Everything became a blur the moment she let herself breathe a little outside the rules. The rich guy had this way of pulling her into a world that felt too bright, too fast, almost unreal. He wasn't just charming, he was chaotic in a way that made her forget how carefully she usually carried herself. One moment they were sneaking sips of champagne, the next they were laughing in hallways she'd only ever walked through with her head down. His wild energy made her feel alive, like she had stepped into someone else's life entirely. But with every reckless smile he tossed her way, a quiet fear tugged at her chest. She didn't know whether she was falling for him or just falling out of control. And then came his idea to test fate, pick a random floor, meet there, and see if destiny agreed. Her heart raced as the elevator climbed higher. And in that rising silence, she wondered if she was chasing freedom, or running straight into disaster. She tried to shake off the warning, but the tension between the two men only grew stronger. Every time the rich guy appeared, smiling like the world existed just to entertain him. She felt herself pulled toward the warmth he carried so effortlessly. And every time the manager saw them together, something in his posture stiffened, as if the air itself had become heavier. The rich guy flirted without hesitation, offering her lunches, spinning her around, treating her like she deserved the world. Meanwhile the manager, cold, strict, and frustratingly unreadable, began tightening the rules around her. Extra duties, harsher tones, constant reminders of her place. It felt unfair, almost cruel, and yet there was a strange intensity in his eyes she couldn't explain. Two completely different worlds were suddenly fighting over the space she occupied, one dazzling and reckless, the other rigid and quietly protective. And she was caught trembling between them, unsure which truth to believe.